The Smith Method Helmet is new for the 2023-2024 season, and it's certainly packed full of technology. In this video, I'm going to do a quick review and help you decide whether it might be the right helmet choice for you. So let's take a closer look. In the unlikely circumstance that you're not aware of Smith, they're one of the most high-end brands making premium goggles and premium ski and snowboard helmets. Problem is that they quite often come with a pretty hefty price tag, and the Method is actually their attempt to bring some of their high-end technologies down to a much more palatable entry-level pricing. It's still not cheap, it's $140, but for the technology that you're gonna get, it's pretty good value. The colorway I've gone with is actually their collaboration with Oyuki, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing wrong, but they're a Japanese brand based out of Hokkaido in Japan. So they're no strangers to making gear for crazy low temperatures and lots of snow. There are, of course, a bunch of other colorways on the website, so if this one doesn't suit your preferences, take a look, there's at least 8 more. What comes in the box? Well, as you'd expect, you have the helmet itself, and you also get a thin carry case that's basically just to prevent scratches when you're in transit, and that's all you're gonna need. In terms of the most standout features of the helmet, the first two are of course gonna be MIPS technology and Koroyd or Koroyd technology from Smith. MIPS of course means multi-directional impact protection system, which is a long way of saying that it has a liner on the inside, which is this funky looking color. And what this liner does is if you were to be involved in a crash that involved rotational forces, so forces that aren't just head on, then rather than a traditional helmet that just transmits this force to the brain, the MIPS liner will actually detach and transmit the forces away from the brain with the aim to reduce concussions and traumatic brain injuries. From the research I've seen so far, it's one of the few technologies that actually does work. So if you can afford it, definitely go with MIPS. The second key bit of tech in the Method helmet is Koroyd or Koroyd technology from Smith, which is denoted by this little green emblem on the back. But this is basically a honeycomb structure within the shell that shaves off a hell of a lot of weight from the helmet, but is also designed to compress on impact, reducing some of the stress that's going to be transmitted to your head. This is designed after things like cars that compress in impacts, and from what I can tell, it is proven to work. I'll see if I can show you, but it's basically this red honeycomb structure underneath the MIPS liner. What I can certainly tell you it does do is reduce the weight of the helmet, because this is one of the lightest helmets that I've tested all season. So other than that, the helmet has essentially got the normal features that you would expect. It has got a goggle retainer on the back. It's got 8 fixed vents with exhaust venting on the back, which I'll go on to speak about, but whilst they are fixed, they do a really great job, particularly because most of the helmet is actually made of this honeycomb aerated structure. There's also a faux fur lined strap and the clip, which is just one of your standard clips. Then the ear pads themselves are audio compatible and removable. And Smith have got their lifestyle adjusted fit system in the back, which was also a new one for me. When it comes to fit, the sizing is pretty standard. I'm a large in most helmet brands, and I've also went for a large in the Smith, and it's fit perfectly and is super comfortable. One thing I liked is that they also come in a round or contour fit, so if you've got a rounder head shape, then make sure you check that one out. This is how it looks with the Outdoor Master Falcon goggles. And what I would say is that Smith, of course, made the helmet to be the most compatible with their own goggles, because why wouldn't they want to sell you more of their own products? But actually in testing, it fit really well with Outdoor Master, Gyro, and Anon goggles also. If, however, you're in the market for a new pair of goggles and are looking for the best fit, then I can highly recommend the Smith IO Mag or IO Mag XL, because those have been pretty seamless in testing. If you wear your strap on the outside, you can see that it's well retained within the retainer clip, and despite having fixed venting, I never had a problem with fogging, and the exhausts seem to do a really good job of clearing away that sweat. Gross. When it comes to the pros of this helmet, the first thing is that it's one of the lightest helmets that I tested all season. This meant that when you're out riding, you can barely tell it's there, and also it's got excellent audio penetration, so you can hear your friends and family if they're screaming at you not to go off that cliff or crevice or whatever it might be. The next thing is that, of course, you're getting a whole lot of technology for a pretty reasonable price. At the time of filming this, it's $140, which, considering you're getting MIPS and Koroyd, is a pretty good deal. I'd also say it's worth checking the website, because sometimes Smith will offer 10 or even 15% off at certain times of the season. I also have to give it props for just how comfortable this helmet was. I was worried when I first looked at it that the complete lack of padding would cause pressure points and this plastic MIPS liner would catch my hair. Actually, this wasn't a problem, and it was one of the most comfortable helmets I tested. In terms of the downsides, the first one is that the removable ear pads, which are great, are also prone to being displaced. And if you're anything like me, you're gonna lose them if you take them off. What I would say is don't take either these or any of the removable bits of lining out unless you are definitely not gonna use them, because each of them is removable. Some of them are just tiny little bits of material, and if you lose them, I'm pretty sure it's going to be hard to replace them. The next thing is that, of course, the vents are fixed and there's no option to close them if the snow starts to fall. Another thing to note is that in the interest of cutting costs, Smith haven't included their classic BOA adjustability system and instead are using their new lifestyle system. Now, I found that this worked really well for me, but if you were someone that was on either end of the extremes of the size spectrum for the helmet, you might find that you're missing having the BOA system or one of those adjustable dials, because this only moves about 3 notches either way. The only other downside I could think of is that the design is fairly sleek and a little bit understated, and for those that want a more statement piece on the slopes or want a helmet that's going to make them stand out, then this might not be it. Having said that, it does come in some pretty bold colours, so if that is your only drawback for the helmet, then take a look at those before writing it off. What are your alternatives? Well, if this is outside your budget, then the second best thing is probably the Outdoor Master MIPS Diamond Helmet, which is one of the cheapest MIPS helmets on the market. It saves you about 40 bucks, but you're gonna find that it is a bit heavier. You're of course not gonna have the Koroyd technology, and the feel isn't gonna be quite as premium. But those 40 bucks might be better served on lift passes, and it's certainly not a bad choice. If, however, you have an entirely unlimited budget, then the Smith Nexus is the best option for you. And if your budget's not quite that high, then the Smith Vantage is the next thing down. Both of those helmets are gonna have adjustable venting, they're still gonna be super lightweight, and they have, if you can believe it, even more technology than the Method helmet. So with all that being said, do I recommend the Smith Method helmet? The answer is a resounding yes. With this much technology, with this much weight saving, and at this price point, it really can't be beaten. Sure, you can get MIPS at a similar price, but they're gonna be heavier, not necessarily as premium as Smith, and this generally just felt really good to ride. Unless having adjustable venting and even more weight shavings is super important to you, then you don't really need to pay the increased price for helmets like the Vantage and the Nexus, and this will save you a bunch to spend elsewhere. That's it for today. If you have any other questions, then let me know in the comment section below. Equally, if you want to leave some feedback on our videos, then I'll try not to be offended. But if we were helpful at all, then please like and comment those blah 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 blah. Please like and comment and subscribe rather, and that way we'll see you in the next one.